Cat Lake First Nation is small and remote. Only about 600 people live here, and a quarter of the population is made up of children, many of whom have become sick, the chief says, living with skin diseases, rashes, and respiratory problems from the black mold that is found in the homes here.
We've lost elders from respiratory problems. And we've lost children. They can't go to school because they have skin diseases.
He said one child was medevaced out of the community, sick from mold. The problem, ongoing for years, reached a critical stage in January when the chief declared a state of emergency. He wants the First Nation evacuated while homes are demolished and temporary housing is built. He says more than 60 families are affected. Federal Indigenous Services Minister Seamus O'Regan said his department is working with the First Nation.
We're accelerating those short-term repairs to houses that we can do, and in the long term, we're working on a housing strategy for the community.
But the chief said so far there is no timeline to replace problem homes. Tuesday, NDP MP Charlie Angus toured the community to see the conditions firsthand.
A disgrace of this magnitude is a national disgrace. The minister needs to be in the community because we're dealing with a full-on health crisis that's damaging the lives of children and has caused deaths in the community.
The chief wants to bring in 40 mobile homes on winter roads to get the hardest hit families out of their homes. But he said that would require extra funding, and he said so far there's no commitment by the federal government to provide it. Jill Makashon, CTV News, Winnipeg.
2-month-old Memory Cologne was taken to Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre just before Christmas, where the family was told her blood became contaminated from the mold in her home.
It's really scary. I don't want any of my other kids to go through the same thing that she's been through.
House mold is a major issue in Castell's community of Puckatawagan in northern Manitoba. She says the issue has been raised numerous times, but nothing has been done to fix the worsening problem.
I was really angry. Scared if I lost my baby. Really sad that my kids have to live like that.
Pediatric respirologist Dr. Tom Kovesi says clean air is a major problem in Indigenous communities. He was part of a study that included 4 isolated First Nations communities in northern Ontario and found 85% of the homes he sampled lacked proper ventilation.
This combination, so what we usually see severe viral infections and then mold in the house, is extremely common in Indigenous communities and far commoner than other communities in Canada.
First Nations leaders are frustrated with the lack of action from both provincial and federal governments.
Our leaders are fed up. I think our people are frustrated, and I think that we will not be heard anymore.
Advocates continue to call on the federal government to build more homes and provide more funding to maintain those homes in First Nations communities, saying the health of First Nations children is at stake. Heather?
CTV's Alex Carpa.
Well, tenants in an apartment complex in the southeast part of the valley are in need of desperate help. 8 News Now first told you about the mold issue over at the Bella Estates, which is on Twain and Nellis.
And since then, we've had several other people reaching out to reporter Victoria Saha sharing similar stories.
Residents at Bella Estates are continuing to voice their concern over their living situation. One resident in particular reached out to us, telling us the mold got so bad in her apartment, it sent her to the hospital. It's been 1 month since severe flooding hit the valley. While it's dried out at Bella Estates, a mess was left behind.
My bedroom is completely filled with mold.
Mold that has now taken over Anisha Vera's apartment. She and her 4 kids are now crammed into their living room.
The smell is horrible.
How are you able to lay your head down at night?
I don't sleep. I don't. I'm up watching my kids, making sure that they're breathing.
But it was Vera who wasn't able to breathe. She was rushed to the hospital a few weeks ago. The discharge papers showed her diagnosis was mold exposure. Did you bring this to the leasing office?
I did, and she said, nope, it's fine, we don't need it.
Vera tells me no one from maintenance has come by yet to address or fix the issue. I reached out to the landlord on Thursday. Julia Ferrelli, the vice president of operations of Advanced Management Group, sent an email saying in part, we aim to fully resolve any outstanding maintenance items as our continued commitment to quality service and satisfaction of our residents. However, residents say the response to them has been far from satisfactory.
They said my apartment was completely fine.
On Monday morning, I went to the corporate office for AMG. No one was available to speak with me.
And you want to have a complex and you can't run them. Nor do you care about the families in these complexes.
Out of all the residents we've spoken to over the past few days, many tell us the same thing. They just want someone to care enough to fix their apartment. Reporting near Twain and Nellis, Victoria Saha, 8 News Now.
So while Victoria was at the office, she was told the owner of the Advanced Management Group would speak with her Tuesday. Now in Nevada, keep in mind, landlords have to up to 14 days to fix and resolve a mold issue safely.
Well, a family in Humble has come forward sharing their distressing living conditions. That's right. They recently discovered the presence of mold in their apartment, highlighting a potentially hazardous situation. Well, Fox 26's Jade Fleury is in the studio with an Only on Fox story. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you. But you guys, Jashay Brandon says she's been living with black mold for over a year in the township apartments in Humble. She says even though they recently sent maintenance, it was only a temporary fix. The mother of two says she noticed black mold in her apartment after maintenance removed cabinets from a leaking pipe. She says it took 6 months for the apartments to respond to her request. By that time, she says her family was already dealing with health issues.
At that point, my kids were sick all the time, going in and out of the hospital, in and out of doctors, me missing work.
Mold contamination in dwellings is very clearly associated with respiratory issues.
After several posts on Facebook by the father of her child, the township apartment sent maintenance to remove the mold-covered wall this afternoon. But Dr. Ostrowski recommends anyone handling black mold to wear protective gear, which staff did not have on. Now, we did reach out to the township apartments, but they declined to comment. Jade Fleury, Fox 26 News.
Over the last year, the city of Jacksonville has received more than 30 complaints about an apartment complex on the west side. On your side, Claire Alfrey spoke with one resident at Treetop Apartments who claims he's been living in a petri dish for years. And after finally getting out of his lease, he now wants to help his neighbors by sharing a story.
Come on in. This is my quiet home.
James Ross has called Treetop Apartments home for 4 years and says lately he's been living with an unwanted roommate.
All the stuff that was in my walk-in closet was full of mold.
This is a sample he's collected over 2 days, and when the petri dish came back from the lab, it's showing how Ross is breathing in 5 different types of mold.
You see that?
Jacksonville's Municipal Code Compliance Division confirmed there is mold and mildew inside of James's apartment. He believes he's been living with mold for the past 2 years.
A pipe or something busted and it flooded my whole apartment.
Not once, but twice, 2 months in a row. Although the pipes have been patched and the water has dried since his apartment flooded in the fall of 2022, left behind are these black shadows on the walls.
After about 6 months, I started coughing, having nosebleeds, sore throats.
After every maintenance appointment, he discovered more contamination spreading throughout his apartment. Taking this up with the Municipal Code Compliance Division, Inspector Michael Wilson walked through Ross's home, noting in his report the, quote, discoloration around the shower head.
That's the mold that had accumulated in just 4 days.
The city gave Treetop Apartments a violation for, quote, failure to maintain the property, end quote, ordering immediate repair. When First Coast News started this investigation in the summer, Ross's work orders were still not fulfilled. The owners of Treetop Apartments, Royal American Management, declined an interview, but sent a statement in response to Ross's living conditions saying, quote, our team is already actively looking into the issues raised, and we are taking immediate steps to resolve them. For James, all he wants is a safe place to come home to.
I'm looking for justice to clean this place.
Since reaching out to Royal American Management, maintenance workers have come to Ross's apartment collecting mold samples. They say if they find anything, they will, quote, mark it as uninhabitable and find alternative living arrangements. Well, those mold samples came back positive, and that actually started construction in his own apartment. And now Ross no longer resides here at the Treetop Apartments. Claire Alfrey, First Coast News, on your side.